What's going on, everybody? My name is Ayden Jackson. This is the Ayden Jackson Show. There's not a ton to cover today, but let's go ahead and get right into it. First of all, I was just reminded that I used to, weigh 60 pounds more than I do right now. But the Grammys were last night. I'm recording this Monday, so the Grammys were last night. I did not watch them. I don't watch TV anymore, really. I've not watched TV since like New Year's, and even since then, I wasn't watching TV for months before that. But I'm just a very busy person now, and I can see propaganda in about everything I watch, so I just don't watch TV anymore. However, at the Grammys, there were a lot of celebrities trash talking ICE and giving their political opinions. And I obviously am a country singer. I have, this music persona online. However, I am not going to give my political opinions because you don't want to hear my opinion. You have your own opinion, and I respect that. And I used to give my opinion on this podcast all the time, but I'm a singer. Music is supposed to unite people, not divide people. So I'm not going to give my opinion on this podcast or ever. I did like the Jelly Roll. He was probably one of the only people who didn't give his political opinion, and he thanked Jesus Christ for him winning and for taking him far in his career, which is good. More celebrities need to do that. I'm a Christian. I respect that, and I think more celebrities should do that because Jesus is ultimately the one in control. There's this creator called Higher Up Wellness, and people, he's on TikTok and Instagram and stuff. People have been asking him to speak out about this ICE incident that happened where a man named Alex Pretty, I believe was his name, was killed by an ICE agent. Now, I'm not going to give my opinion on the situation. I do think the taking of human life is always wrong as a Christian. And Higher Up Wellness basically said the same thing. And everybody's giving him shit over it. And I don't understand why. He's simply saying, I'm not going to comment on what happened. It's just wrong that human life was taken. And people basically saying the incident was wrong, and people don't respect that. People expect him to give his full-on political opinion, but they don't want his opinion. They want him to agree with them, which is the problem with this country. We want people to have the same views as us. I'm never going to give my political opinion on this podcast. I'm going to try not to, at least, or in my music. I have in the past on this podcast and in my music, but I'm not going to. Because honestly, I like to unite people and not divide people. So those are a couple of things going on right now. I've had a very dialed-in routine here recently. It's part of the reason why I don't watch TV and keep up with stuff that's on TV. I get up at 4:30 every morning. I work out. I read the Bible. I pray. I get ready for work. And then I come home. I work on music for a little bit, podcasts, whatever, get ready for the next day. And then I go to bed. And it's the same thing every day. So I really don't have time to watch TV or anything like that. Now we're just going to talk about some personal life stuff, not too personal. I am getting a lot of music done here recently, and there's one person who was involved in my music in the past who's no longer involved, and it's sounding way better now. I'm redoing a lot of past recordings that I was going to release, and honestly, they're way better now because I've been working with a vocal instructor, and just my music production knowledge has way increased. But I've been working with a vocal instructor since September, and it's been a game changer. My vocals have way improved, and you'll hear that on this new music. So I'm very excited about that. you will definitely be hearing some of it very, very soon. Uh, I'm trying to be optimistic about this year and this month. February is a perfect month. There's like 4 of each day, and it starts on a Sunday, ends on a Saturday, so it's like a perfect month. The last time this happened was 2015. This is also obviously the month of love. Everybody talks about it. And there's like these things on TikTok that predict like who you're going to be with on Valentine's Day and like uh, who's going to love you in 2026. And honestly, the results for me have been pretty creepy because there's a situation in my life I'm not going to talk about, but it it made it seem like it was talking about that situation, and maybe I'm I don't know. I'm just trying to be optimistic, and I'm trying to every single day, even if the day has gone awful, trying to look at the blessings of the day, the positive things. Um, and I've been praying a lot, and I think God's answering my prayers. I think that, and even giving me signs that He's going to. And sometimes prayers don't get answered when you want them to because we're not on our time. We're on God's time. And we have to understand that and respect that and be okay with that. And sometimes we don't have everything figured out because we don't, we're sinners. But this year, I'm not going to focus on chasing women. Like I said in last week's episode, some people think you should, and, you should focus on, getting women, and that should be a focus of yours. But I want to find the one. I don't want, hookups, and, I'm not into hookup culture. I plan on waiting to have sex till marriage. So people, people may not understand that. Sometimes when I'm talking to women, I fear they think that all I want is this one thing, and that's not who I am, and it sucks. But 2025, I spent a lot of time chasing women, and I'm not going to do that this year. It's going to be a different year. I don't think there's too much else to talk about. I got new music on the way. I discussed that. I'm trying to be optimistic about this year. Last week, I've had some days where I just get like overly stressed out, and sometimes I don't even know what I'm stressed out about. That's how bad it is. And I'm probably going to start like seeing a counselor soon for some things because there are things that stress me out on the regular. But last week I got home, and a few days in a row I had some whiskey in my coffee, and I had some beer, and about a month and a half ago I was a major stoner. I smoked weed all the time, and I haven't done that in almost a month and a half, and it's been a great decision. Occasionally I may smoke some weed here and there, but I've not smoked any in a month and a half, and I'm going to try to keep this going. Occasionally I may reward myself, but that's how you should also treat alcohol. Don't, I'm not having any tonight. I've not had any the past few days. Reward yourself. Don't use them as a tool to drown your pain. And sometimes I let every little thing in life affect me to the point to where I think I start giving off negative energy, negative aura. And I may do that when I'm at work sometimes. I feel like, because I do have a full-time job, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30, what the? That was weird. Okay. Uh, it can be stressful sometimes, obviously, but I'm trying to look at the positives. And, there's some people some people I've caught myself stopping talking to for a period of time. And sometimes you can let your intuition or, your negative thoughts you mistake as intuition. And sometimes your intuition you mistake as negative thoughts. So sometimes you have situations where you stop talking to people and then you regret it at some point and then you start talking to them again. And I've had a situation like that here recently. I'm not going to get into it, but yeah. I'm going to look at all the positives this year. Hopefully this is a really good month. Hopefully this is a really good year. I have a lot of goals this year. And one of my goals, the person that I cut out of my life, I discussed last episode, and he's was on some songs but is no longer. He's close to 50. He'll be 50 this year. One of my goals is to be 10 times further than where he's at in life right now by the time I'm 30. And honestly, maybe even by the time I'm 25, because I think I can do it. I've proven to myself I can do anything I put my mind to. The doctors told me a few years ago I wasn't going to get any better at walking when I could barely walk because of having ankylosing spondylitis. And I proved them wrong. I quit using all walking devices. I get, over 10,000 steps most days. I work out every day. And I eat a very clean diet, and I've proven them wrong. And if I can prove them wrong, and I've proven people wrong in a bunch of other areas of my life as well. So if I can prove people wrong, I can do anything I put my mind to, basically. I can do something. If I could do something that the doctors thought was impossible, then I can certainly do this. Because I can do anything I put my mind to. Especially with prayer, reading the Bible, working out, having a solid structure, solid routine to your day every day. I think I've went on a little too long now. Sorry about that little thing with the camera a minute ago. I don't know what happened. I'm working on getting a better podcast setup here in my studio. My name has been Ayden, and this has been The Ayden Jackson Show.